Good evening, everybody. Scholars, welcome. I guess I'll be the chair of the proceedings. My name is Jonathan Bordo. A few years back, I recall Tom Mitchell mentioning to me the Chicago School of Media Studies. Not having heard of it, I noted in that brusque, insouciant Canadian way that I knew about the Toronto School of Communications, noting that Harold Innis had done his doctorate in political economy at Chicago. And the influence that Chicago had on Innis has been given attention by the fine Canadian communications historian and professor of communications, William Buxton. I couldn't recall him speaking about the Chicago School of Media Studies. But then again, it has taken me time to consider the German School of Communications as a euphemism for Walter Benjamin. I also recall Tom Mitchell mentioning your name to me. And the seminars that were being held at Chicago, to which you must have been a contributor and a force. He also might have mentioned the anthology that just recently appeared, co-edited by Tom and you. Indeed, you have been preceded 2 years ago by Tom himself, who gave a very fine lecture, and has been followed last year by Mark Schell, a MacArthur Fellow from Harvard. And we continue, in other words, to be blessed by distinguished lecturers. So I just wanted to welcome you. Before turning to the lectern over to Dr. Franklin, the president of Trent, to launch the lectureship, I wanted to make a few brief remarks about the distinctive character of the cultural studies formation at Trent University, and the doctoral program in particular. Information, hopefully, to you, an affirmation of the fine cohort of doctoral students in the program, and a recollection at this critical juncture for graduate studies in the life of this university. The cultural studies formation, both undergraduate and graduate, manifests the traits of an evolved interdisciplinarity through three major fields: media and film studies, the integrated arts, and literature. Through these fields, it fuses the arts, letters, media, literature, philosophy, and theory, where it might be divided at large universities into highly specialized disciplines. This has led to an interdependence between it and disciplinary formations, from which the master's and doctoral program have drawn many faculty. Because of the constant innovation in its curricula, it has come to produce theories, methods, and themes in order to advance consilience between the knowledges. On the one hand, faculty from a large number of disciplines cooperate to generate innovative, integrated doctoral teaching. It manifests itself at the same time in the far-reaching scope and synergy among the doctoral students attracted to the program. Global, cosmopolitan, in a small place larger than a university town. The Cultural Studies doctoral program has visiting students from India, Turkey, Vietnam, Iran, Northern Europe, Belarus, and Bulgaria, as well as the United States. These students bring issues and concerns that often cannot be addressed in their home countries because they concern painful, disquieting, and taboo subjects often. Correlatively, there are domestic students whose doctoral interests they export to parts of the world that are marked by deep divisions and conflict. It is rather interesting that cultural studies should become the epistemological repository of global outreach, when it is often the more pragmatic and objective parts of the university who see themselves, because of their specialized knowledge, to be the agents of globality. At the same time, the Cultural Studies doctoral program invites students with themes and topics that are purely speculative, and yet require approaches and the contribution of materials that cannot be contained in discrete disciplines. In this regard, cultural studies advances the highest goals of liberal scholarship, which is not merely as a means, but knowledge as an end in itself. While there are a number of cultural studies-like doctoral programs in Ontario, the Cultural Studies doctoral program of Trent University is the only one which has arisen from the Cultural Studies undergraduate department and the great success of its enterprise over the past 30 years. In this important respect, this is an organic development, not an invention of administrative convenience and so on. In this rather important respect, the Cultural Studies doctoral program is unique in North America. Another attribute of the Cultural Studies doctoral program has begun to emerge because of the high standard of literacy that it requires and that the students demonstrate even in second languages. In this regard, the string of cognate words, so I always want to go language, letters, literature, literacy, that are pooled cognitively and intellectually in cultural studies are stimulated by media and a reflection on a causality between the new media and its impact on literacy, which in fact might provide a task for the very special métier of cultural studies at this time, namely to address the questions having to do with literacy. The very title of Mark Hansen's talk immediately suggests a condition and a malaise because the apparatus that underlies all digital practices is a methesis that does not require its mastery or even education in order to reproduce it through use, unlike a piano or a typewriter, two great machines of the waning era of democratic literacy. An apparatus based in mathematics does not require the apprehension of mathematics in order to have a mastery of its usage. The title of Mark Hansen's talk is Media Theoretical Mathematics in Action.